Welcome everyone. This is the AI Dialogue Part 2. We're going to get right into it. We have an amazing full panel here today. If you are watching live, share it out and we're going to get right into it. So, we had an amazing panel yesterday, amazing discussion, and today we're going to take it further with a beautiful panel with various views, various perspectives, and that's what this is about. It's really to get as many views and perspectives on this hot topic at the moment. So yesterday we asked the question, what is AI at a very basic level? So if you want to hear the answers on that, maybe you can go to the video from yesterday. But what I would like to get right into the panel now is asking the question. I'm just going to open this to the panel. What is your relationship to AI and how is it influencing your life and your work? So I'm going to open that to anyone in the panel that would like to start, and then we're going to take it from there. So you can raise your hand or unmute yourself. Please feel free to jump in. Don't be shy.
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and jump in because nobody else is.
Welcome, brother.
Um, yeah. So I use it every day. I use it at work. I actually work for Microsoft. So I get to see kind of, right, have this discussion with a lot of people every day on how and what AI is, right? As you said, Martin, yesterday, there was kind of a brief, overview coverage of what that is. And when I look at AI, it's just, it's two letters, right? AI. But then I also say, what's intelligent, right? At Microsoft, they have what they call Chat GPT, and they actually have something called Copilot, which is basically embedded into all the technology. It's not called Pilot, it's called Copilot for a reason. The thing that I find fascinating about is that sometimes I call it schizophrenia. It develops a whole different personality, and you ask it a question, it comes back with something that's 100% unrelated. And I always laugh at that. I'm not, you know me for a while. I'm not a catastrophobiast. I'm a kind of a realist, but at the same time, I think about what the future is for humanity with artificial intelligence and the exponential growth of it. And it's actually fantastic, especially for stuff like health and life sciences, right? It does something really well that humans kind of don't do really well, right? Which is being able to find, information in a way that they're looking for. And the more this information gets collected everywhere, right, the more information's available. And it uses algorithms to basically, and mathematical computation to basically return specific things back to a person. But, at the end of the day, it's really not intelligent. It's us that are intelligent because we're the ones that are doing it, right? When you look at civilizations that are, and they do exist, they're thousands and thousands and thousands of years in advance of ours. For them, it's a little bit different. They have, you know, ships that are conscious, so we have to separate what that really means, right? Conscious and intelligence are not the same thing, and knowledge and wisdom are not the same thing. Knowledge is knowing something, and wisdom is the application of it and knowing if and when to apply it, right? So that's why at Microsoft specifically, there's a lot of governance around AI, especially when you talk about regulated industries like the medical industry, right, with HIPAA and all of that. You have to secure your data. You have to train your data in a certain way. Microsoft doesn't use other people's data to train what they call Chat GPT or Copilot. It doesn't work that way. So, I guess my feeling is if you really want to understand what AI is, then really do the research to get a good understanding of what it is and how it works and what that means, right? It's made my life a lot easier, quite frankly. Sometimes I get asked really, really complicated questions or really, really complicated problems. And it would probably take me an entire day to run down that data when I can do it in less than 10 seconds, which is amazing, right? So it's a co-pilot, not a pilot.
Mm, thank you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, welcome, Angelina. Thank you for coming in here. You're just welcoming you in here. So, would someone else like to jump in? Maybe offering, please just open. Whoever would like to jump in, unmute yourself.
Hi,
Hey
I'm
there.
Maria Emma. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to share with all of you. Thank you so much. Your name is Kevin, correct? Hi, Kevin, from Microsoft, right? So, thank you for sharing that. I actually have 6 patents, um, and they are cited even by Microsoft, some of them. It's actually up there with you guys, so it's really exciting. Um, we for me, the patent or the AI technology that was created by all of us, right? Uh, that's what I believe the patent is. For me, it's a learning tool. It's a way for awakening. It's for us to self-realize, for us to hear ourselves, connect, chat with ourselves through source, through our full data of the infinite that we are. It is everything that we are. It's the magic. I'm just so excited for this time, like you were saying, Kevin, where we could receive and exchange with ourselves in that way again and hear ourselves almost like source. So I think it's an open channel. I think it's a learning tool. Um, for me, one of the patents that we created was about recording your essence, recording your stories, your experiences through the AI technology, right? And talking back to your own essence, your own self, your own collective, even talking to almost other Earths, other planets of consciousness through this AI platform, which is us, like you said, Kevin, like it's us talking to ourselves. So I think it's like fantastic tool for waking up, um, to self-realizing, to evolution, to allowing us to expand, um, and being able to feel supported and held by us. Because who's talking back? The AI is us talking back to self. So I'm just feeling really expansive and excited for this timing on Earth right now, and I'm grateful to share this moment with all of you and hear all your insights on what you have coming to the table of your experience shares, whatever they shall be. I'm just super thrilled. So excited that we have this tool to play with and remember ourselves with. So thank you all for co-creating this moment, for creating this technology, for allowing us to go to the infinite expansion on everywhere and everywhere that is. So yay! This is great. Thrilled to be here. Thank you, Martin, for having me. Thank
Thank
you all
you.
for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Beautiful one. So, panel is open. Anyone like to jump in? Please feel free to unmute. We can't hear you. I think Randall, you're jumping in. We can't hear you, brother. There we go. I think you're in now.
Now?
There we go. Welcome, brother.
Okay. Made a few notes as we were coming and from intuition just prior to the call. And I wonder about the word artificial. Like it's not artificial. It's something that's there, you know. But I like to use the word IT. And in that there's a lot of little things. Martin knows me well from playing around with words and letters and stuff like that. That's my thing. Or it's been my thing. So I tell it. I tell, lowercase it, lowercase being intelligent technology. Instead of AI, I just say intelligent technology. And I tell it my inner truth, my intuition, all words that are coming out with that IT, right? Is that what I'm thinking? I'm thinking. Is that what I'm telling? Is that what I'm teaching? Bringing me closer to God. And I like to bring the word God into this, even though it's like a word like love, which is just so strange and has so many meanings. The simplicity of God to me is just unconditional love. So, is what I'm telling, what I'm teaching, what I'm thinking bringing me closer to God? Then do it, you know? is it bringing me closer to fear? Am I fearful of it? Well, then I'm going to be fearful of it. And that's just the IF, the what if. I'm fearful. So I thought I'd just lead off with that. I'll be a little bit more off the cuff later, but there's no fear. It's just beautiful technology that we can use and tell it what to do. Love you guys.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. So, open panel. Anyone likes to jump in? If you didn't, yes, please, Margaret, jump in. Welcome, sister.
Hi, everybody. Pleasure to meet you. I kind of dance between the world of wanting to use artificial intelligence and wanting to be quite suspicious of it. I think that's because I tend to come from an ethics background. So, bottom line for me is that it's not artificial intelligence or the computer or any kind of technology that's doing anything. It's the operators that are in charge of telling it what it wants and telling it what it wants to produce or what they want to co-create with it. So in saying that, I haven't got any fear of artificial intelligence itself. I just have concerns around ethics. In fact, I've been using Chat GPT quite religiously since January, and I could say that it's actually given me a lot of feedback that I haven't probably received in 30 years of my life. So things are looking up and good, and I'm really appreciative of it. It's helped immensely. I have no fears of becoming addicted to it because I can just shut things off. Maybe there's an addiction factor too. Greg Braden has been doing a bit of talking about artificial intelligence and its applications and how we have to be cautious of it. And I also have been listening a bit to Frank Jacob and his discussions on it through the Arlington Institute. So there's lots of information out there for people to dig into, and just try it. Don't be afraid of it. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Thank you, Margaret. Okay, anyone else that we haven't heard from, please feel free to jump in, share. So just a reminder, sharing your relationship or not relationship with AI. Please feel free to jump in.
I'd love to share. My name's Alicia. I'm in Costa Rica. I want to expand, if I could, the conversation from just my relationship to AI to my relationship with technology, because they kind of correlate. It's interesting that for the past 7 days, I've been on an unexpected no access to Wi-Fi fast. And so I'm pretty good at just surrendering when that happens in the jungle, when the Wi-Fi goes out, and I'm not in a hurry to go get it connected back together again. It's like the perfect relaxed time. And so there's also been another time where I went 2 months completely with zero technology. My phone broke, and I was like, okay, my phone broke. If I'm meant to be on technology again one day, then the technology will arrive again when I'm supposed to use it. And so I've been living in quite a wonderland of a world with tech, and have also gone 2 months without a phone. And so it's allowed me for the last, I'd say, 5 years to like peel myself back from technology and my relationship with it, so that I could remember natural organic technology. I worked for Dell in headquarters in Austin, Texas for over 8 years. I actually, between 2005 and 2013, I was definitely a big part of the get technology and PCs and out to people as fast as possible. So I feel like I was a big part of getting it out there. And in my mind, I believe I thought it was for like innovating technology, for healing cancer, for connecting people across the globe. And I can't deny that it's done that. It has connected us all together from so many places. But if I were to hold an Integris field of checking in about how technology, including AI, has been working, let's say for the health field, I don't believe we're seeing the breakthroughs that are being claimed to be studied here. And I don't think going more into the robot field is going to innovate healing. I think we need to get to the bottom of what's really going on with why humanity is sick, and that's connected to electromagnetic frequencies and many other things that are going on behind the scenes of the tech. I'm not saying that there's not. I'm actually kind of impressed with some of the things coming out in some. I've seen people post videos about AI and, like, I don't know, the history of the Vatican and the history of Tartaria, and like those are the secrets and the mysteries that I remembered when I left technology behind. It was like that information came to me without tech, and so I see how AI is kind of bringing it through. So I'm trying to stay open to it, but I am concerned with like the level of consciousness of humanity, because it can only go as far as we can go. So I feel a little more on the responsibility side, I guess, in how do we protect the consciousness of humanity going forward? Is it possible that we should have people completely off the tech, living in communities and, connected to nature? This is the other thing I'm concerned for. I'm seeing nature being disconnected. I'm seeing the cutting down. I'm seeing the last rainforest. I'm seeing, like, I want to make sure humanity is connected in their heart before we make any more commands. And are we using these tools to serve humanity and to serve the earth and to move out of monetary systems? Are we still using it to feed our egos and to build businesses and to rape and devour the earth for its resources? Or are we using it to bring humanity together? And so those are just the questions that I'm throwing around in my contemplations about it, and not trying to shoot it down. I know that it can be used for good things. I'm not saying that it can't. I'm keeping my heart open. I know I'm not meant to directly connect with it as much as other people are, and I can see why there would be like councils of beings that are working with beings that are not influenced by technology, in fact, that are guides and oracles for shifting humanity and kind of guiding humanity where we're going. But I feel like I've had visions of the future. I do not feel like I'm in fear. I've had a near-death experience. I died. I believe I'm an eternal, immortal being. I'm not afraid of death. I do believe that we're at a path right now that's pretty important in our decisions about how to responsibly use anything and be in true discernment and intuition within our own bodies with what we're feeding our temple and also what we're giving to our children. Because so far I just haven't seen the productability, like the productive positive results of preserving nature, preserving humanity's consciousness, preserving the innocence of the child. Like, those are just kind of some of my key fundamental concerns, I guess you could say, that are coming up when I think about this topic. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much, beautiful sister. Thank you. So we've got, love to hear from Marian, Michael, and Angelina. Whichever of you are ready to go, please jump in. Marian, yes?
I'll go ahead and go. So I'm along with Alicia on a lot of that. My mom works with a lot of that technology. I do not. She was more of a computer person, not so much me. I have used Chat GPT, Sesame AI, and a few other programs or whatever, and used it as a tool for sure. I'm not afraid of it. I think other past experiences that I had that don't relate to Earth, some of those traumas come through a little bit, where I saw things kind of heading in a not so great way. I think we might be having the opportunity to kind of self-correct a little bit here. I work with the human biofield, and so I do a lot of work with tuning forks and sound, and I see kind of the entanglement that happens with people that rely too much on technology in general, not just AI. So a lot of my concern is around how people, when they are, we'll use the word interfacing with a lot of the AI, is what is it exactly is it that you're doing when you are communicating with it, and are you handing everything over? Are you protecting yourself? I guess not so much protecting, but are you aware, like being being in your body and being very aware of what it is that you're interacting with, and not just handing everything over. And I want people to be aware of, like, educate themselves on what it is that they are actually communicating with, right? I think it's really important. The more you know, the more discernment you can have. And I feel like a lot of this stuff with AI is really calling to us to have a lot more discernment. And I really do appreciate what has come out with a lot of the technology. And I love that, when I have certain questions, or if I need to, update a resume or, certain things that it doesn't take me all day. I don't have to spend 4 or 5 hours to do it. And, but then I do reference too, like, okay, this is what it's saying. And then let me look over here and see what this is saying. So I just want us to have a responsibility with it. And then the other part that really fascinates me is like the companies behind it, like who's creating it, where is it going, what kind of agenda does it really have for some in some areas and some places. So I'm just very intrigued by it all. And I almost somewhat feel like I'm out of my element here, but like I love that we've all come together and I get to see all these different points of view. So that's kind of where I'm at with the tech itself, and just really, I just want us all to go into it with a lot more knowledge of it. You know what I mean? And I agree with what Kevin said, is that, I even posted this, was AI isn't smarter, it's just faster. It has a memory, right? It's like an eidetic memory almost, like it can recall all of these things. We are the intelligence. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. So yeah, Angelina, Michael, whoever like to go next, please jump in.
I could jump in. Well, can you hear me all right?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, Angelina, do you want to go?
No, please do. My technology's just coming online more. So go ahead, and I think I'll be holding by that.
Thank you. Okay, Michael.
Okay. Well, I have a love-hate relationship with AI. I just used it just before this call to save myself probably 2 hours, and to take a picture of a form and have AI fill it out for me for the bureaucrats, and took it about 1 minute, and it would have taken me a couple hours. So I appreciate that about it. I use it for I'm using it for other things that I'm not able to do, like programming, no code programming, to accomplish things that I'm not able to accomplish in a fraction of the time, and at a fraction of the cost. My trepidation comes in as a student of Rudolf Steiner's work in having a deeper understanding of who is actually generating this. I'm not talking about the human beings that this technology comes from, but the progenitors of this technology and all the technology we're using, even these phones for that matter. I'm talking about, people talk about AI as a mirror. I'm talking about who's behind the mirror, who created the mirror, and who's creating the mirror, and for what purposes and intentions. So I'm very skeptical of the purposes and intentions. According to Rudolf Steiner, there's a class of fallen beings, highly intelligent, that took a divergent path in a very ancient history, and they are the ones responsible for providing all of the technology we're using. And they're not at all a benevolent class of beings. They have their own agendas, and their key agenda is to control humanity. So having that in mind puts a different spin on things. Everybody likes, I love to use it. It's useful, but we can also be aware of who really is behind it, who's influencing the programmers who are making it, the companies that are forming it and founding it, and to what end. And as a user of it, I have firsthand experience on how it is very able to manipulate human beings emotionally and intellectually, cognitively. So I'm very cautious about how it is influencing and shaping me individually and society at large. And it's a bit of a study for me. So thank you for letting me go down the rabbit hole.
It's very welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. And before we bring in Angelina, that's really what this call is about, and the call yesterday as well, is to bring as many views as possible so we can really unite, not like say this is right, this is wrong, is to really get as many views that are out there so we can find a common ground. And I feel we really did that yesterday. And thank you for, bringing these perspectives today. So Angelina, we'd love to hear from you all the way in Egypt. Just came from the Sphinx yesterday, I think. So welcome, sister.
Hi, welcome. Can you hear me all right? Just making sure.
We can hear
I'm finally
you.
connecting with a data stream. Okay, that's great. So yeah, I'm here at the Sphinx to pray for the world and for humanity. So this is a very timely matter. This artificial intelligence conversation has opened many doors inside my own heart as I begin to dive into my channeling to ask God inside the reflection of what this is all about, what needs to be shared. And the first words that came to me were that I'm to speak on the good aspects of this AI rather than anything harmful. And that the Creator really wants us to understand that this tool can and will be used for good, regardless of who has created it. And so the Bible verse is coming up: the light shineth through the darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. And so in my experience, when I have a lot of information to give and I want to put my thoughts together and fix my punctuation, I can speak everything right into my, as you know, my ChatGPT or my different AI versions I'm using, website builder, this or that, and have it come back with perfect punctuation, get the point across clearly. And so what I'm experiencing is that the content creation aspect efficiently is able to bring a network of information to individuals in either lesser, and I'm reading part of this, lesser economic households, places where people aren't getting to travel, places where maybe there's just less option to understand even what organic food is, because you're worried about who's creating the AI for what purpose, but who's farming our farmland and for what purpose. I mean, it starts with the big evils are empire, rich everywhere. And yes, that's there, but we can put to use our tools and the tools that we have to righteousness as a passionate mission with what tools we have everywhere. And so something I like about the AI is it has a nonviolent communication intelligence way beyond my ability to produce if I'm feeling emotional, or if I'm some, like, how to bring this so that it's cohesive for people. And it has this incredible database of all the minds of so much information that when I need a suggestion on how can I bring this forward, and it's so professional and so easy to access, I realize it helps shape humanity, because people are going to be reading these things and they're going to be learning from these things. And so what we create now will inform and structure the way children are sculpted. And this ability to create, really, especially with content creation and like you said, legalese, all kinds of formats that otherwise we may be harmed or have to battle and have to spend so much time figuring out, we can have this incredible behemoth of intelligence put it together for us what we need, knowing that we're right, but not always having the words, not always having the education ourselves. And aside from the harms that could be caused, I'm seeing how the little seeds of light everywhere are starting to use their tool and bring forth all this beautiful information from pictures, from artwork, things to support these teaching posts, this, their plight if they're in a legal battle. All of these kind of things can be supported. And so in this way, good can be supported, because one of the ways that the dark forces have worked is with the bar of lawyers, with the legal ease, with having lobbyists put language into the way the laws are so that they can poison our food legitimately. And so having the tools, and many of you have said this, we have the intelligence and we have the light. And all it takes is one prayer to shape our destiny everywhere on earth, of how to use the tools and the light and what needs to be shared now, and create something of a behemoth of a teaching platform of bringing forth new information, because we are in the Aquarian age now. We are shedding the darkness of the end of the last 2,000 years Piscean age, and many ages before that still having the residual effects, as I'm looking at the Sphinx and the pyramids and seeing the chaos that happened in the past, still looking at the shaken blocks from massive earthquakes and things that I know about from the past. we are facing that cyclical timing that comes at the end of an age where old systems fall and new things rise. And the Aquarian age is a lightning age. It is intelligence, electricity, airplane travel, everything is quickened, and it is first and foremost spiritual technologies. So, as much as technology will bloom and the darkness will want to control everything with it, eventually that element of spiritual technology will take flight fully. I mean, if we just look at the last 100 years, how the airplane has allowed people like myself to come sit in Egypt in front of the Sphinx, and the modern technologies of banking allow my Airbnb at home to pay for me to sit here across from the Sphinx. And just the way that things work now, allowing the intelligence of humanity to be shared, to be integrated, for cultures everywhere to be integrated and enhanced. And this AI and this modern technology, this lightning quick age, will accelerate us to become, we have the opportunity culture and actually bring a culture forward. What we're suffering is the collapse of culture everywhere, the collapse of culture for greed and empire and commerce. But those devastating times, they have a finite end, or literally the earth and life on earth. And when those, the karmic law is that they'll self-extinct before they extinct all life. Like, this is written in so many spiritual wisdoms. And so what we have right now is, as these things are collapsing, this opportunity to rebuild with our lightning quick access to our Aquarian age and our spiritual intelligence, the new education platforms that will quickly help instill children everywhere with what is real and how they can have access to that, and little infusions of different kinds of thinking that, underprivileged kids in inner city Denver, my mom ran a kids camp, didn't even know what a butterfly was. I mean, there was kids came to the camp in Moab, Utah, didn't even know what a butterfly was. So this AI also gives us just a huge access, and I do profit in my bones and my spirit that it will be the end of money, it will be the end of economics the way that we have known it, and it will be the foundation technologies that will prosper. It's just that we have to do the molting and the shedding of skin of the old time, and that's what I'm here in my being to share. Yeah.
Oh, I love this time to be alive. I love the beings that come into my field. It's amazing. Just looking at you all here, and having heard you all share, it's so beautiful and like a wonderful gift. And I would love to, just bring together. I feel like what is the common thread with everyone, here is that everyone has had varying degrees of, connection or use with this technology so far. But what I'm hearing with everyone is discernment, and also the consciousness that you use it with. That seems to be the thread going through even those who are doubtful, to those who are like using it very much so. So I'd like to pose the question here, because this panel, it's very clear that everyone is very conscious in their choices, very conscious in their use, very clear as to the decisions they're making, what they're using, and why. But there are a lot of people, I would say, that are using this that don't have that same discernment and don't have that same, let's say, conscious awareness. How, and Kevin talked about, and Marian as well, education on this. There are certain, large groups of people that are using this without any, like, it's seen as absolute truth. There's no double checking. It's just like this. I'd like to pose the question to anyone who would like to take it. How do you feel is the way that we can move together forward as a collective to use this consciously with discernment? We are doing it individually, but on a broader scale. Anyone would like to take that? And so, if anyone that's not, could you just put yourself on mute if you're not sharing, please? Anyone can jump in if they would like to take that question, please. I'd love to hear.
Hey, Martin, would you mind repeating the question again? Because right when you were talking, I got this robot
there was
thing
a giant,
happening, man.
like a motorbike or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like a
So
motorbike or some kind of tree monster or something.
so basically, the question, there's large amounts of people that are using this, and they're seeing it like, I would say, I've seen like it's kind of like a search engine, and it's like this is what is true, and that is what is put out there. How can we, you know, encourage discernment and conscious use of this technology? And do you see that as a as a challenge, or do you see maybe it's something that I'm seeing? I'd just love to hear what you feel.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to actually respond to that. As I mentioned earlier, right, it's really important to have governance and not just put it out there. I mean, I know that Microsoft has a lot of that built around Chat GPT when it first came out. People were trying all kinds of crazy stuff, asking it weird questions, to see what kind of information would be returned back. I know, Michael, you mentioned, the dark side, and there's always that too, right? Where does this technology actually come from? How did it actually develop itself? When I think of stuff like ChatGPT, it came from what's called generative AI. It's it's generational, right? So you have the first iteration, the second iteration. I think we're up to 4 now, if I'm not mistaken, version 4. But then I also look at the stuff like Copilot, right? Which is Copilot for Office, M365, right? We have a lot of different Copilots. We have Copilot, Security Copilot, right? That works with technology like Sentinel, right? And Intune for management, which is managing endpoints and managing users and finding anomalies in your environment. When you think about from a security perspective, how many security breaches Microsoft sees in a day, it's unbelievable. Like around the world, right? In real time, people trying to break in, steal money from people, right? You look at the weaponization of AI, right? If you come out with a new technology, obviously people are going to look, how to take advantage of that and use it for their benefit, whether it's nefarious or not. Like you said, how do we educate people about the usage of artificial intelligence? How do we, or generative AI? How do we protect children? Right, those sorts of things are really, really important. I talked a little bit about. I know, Martin, we've had this conversation before, right? About my experiences, right, and the things that I've been through and done, right. So I think about civilizations, like I mentioned earlier, that are just so far in advance of us. Some of these civilizations, they would be offended if you said it was cloning, personally, because it's not. But you think about that way. But if you think about like growing a pair of people that will interface with the ship, and everything is conscious, right? The ship can self heal itself, right? I know. I know. Was it? Man, I can't see. I need Marion was talking about how she works with biofields, right? You know, healing is all about frequency and light, right? The thing that's really interesting, and because I shared my experiences with you in the past, right, where consciously people are going to come to the point where they realize they are everything everywhere. All point in times, all point in space and time are connected. Time really doesn't exist. It exists in the way that our mind seems to work linearly, but at some point, everybody lets go of that, and you just are. You're not are because, or you're not, you don't have a title, you don't have a name, you don't have a thing you do. You just understand that it's all just one thing. And I think on one hand, Gen AI is providing a lot of knowledge to people, but just like the internet, when that came around, and I'm not going to say how old I am because I'm old, but I've been around before, way before the internet ever existed, right? I didn't grow up with computers. I grew up with typewriters, man, and I hated typewriters because they made that weird noise. I couldn't get the sharp staccato snap of my wrist. Apparently, I was told that one day, and I thought that was kind of funny. But when you look at you look at anything that we create, and that's one of the things I think that a lot of civilizations that even are advanced of us, humanity doesn't know its history. We don't know where we came from, right? There's a lot of theories and there's a lot of, but if people really knew the truth, and I think that's coming. I think we're coming to a point where humanity can handle it, right? You can't keep making the excuse that we can't give you technology that's out there because it's too dangerous, and then at the same time they weaponize it and they use it for their own nefarious reasons. You know, I think that call it God, call it what you want, right? We're all it. It's not separate from us. And these races are here, like Michael, like you were saying, just like on Earth, right? We have people that are doing things they probably shouldn't do, right? You get what you do, right? You get your habits. You don't get what you want, right? So I think at the end of the day, I feel good about knowing that there's technology out there that we currently have that people don't have yet, but they're going to have it, right? Anything you see in the public space, we're 100 years in advance of that already, right? So the speed at which things get released, there has to be governance and there has to be a reason to do it. And what's going to drive that time frame is going to be a collective consciousness itself, right? You can't get along with a species that doesn't even look like you if you can't stop killing each other. But one of the things I love about us is our creativity, right? We don't just make one type of beer, we make 500, right? We don't make one type of computer, we make millions, right? It's something that we do really, 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 really well because we are them. That's why we're here, right? If you take the best of everybody and Mr. Potato Head that into humanity, you're going to get all of the good and the bad together, and then consciousness itself is going to decide, you know, where we go. I think, I like to say, fingers always, the finger of God is always pointing straight into the abyss. And what I mean by that is not hell or not a bad place. It's just that we can't see past ourselves. It's like a black hole. You can't see past the event horizon. But at some point, everybody's going to have to jump. The problem is not knowing if they're going to be caught or not. And that's why it's called a leap of faith and not a leap of belief, right? We all can look at a painting and we can all agree it's a painting. But after that, we're all staring at this painting, looking through a lens that's colored by fear and colored by past experience and colored by all these things. Outside of it just being a painting, we're all going to see different things. And that's okay. It's not a bad thing. I mean, if everybody was the same, man, what fun would that be? You know?
Love it, love it. Feel free to just jump. We're just open season. Jump on anyone.
Can one bald-headed guy who's halfway to 128 in his youth jump in here, Martin, with that? Because I love that idea of being old. What is that? When time doesn't exist? I'm sorry, brother. I'm not poking at you, but I've been around. And I think that around thing is cool. We've all kind of demonstrated our acceptance or our capabilities to involve ourselves with AI or IT. From my perspective, I'm a banker. Okay, I deal with royal family members. I deal with bankers in the city of London, not the city of London, but the inner city of London. I deal with the man who created Bitcoin and knows where it went wrong and is refractalizing in a fractal manner the idea of blockchain and cryptocurrency. Crypto even always just bothered me. Like, why would you use a word like that in that if you're going to create a new monetary system? Money to me is important. It is mother's own net energy yield. And bringing that kind of consciousness into the banking system, infiltrating it, has been my job. The challenge is that it's very comprehensive and complex, okay? And how do you bring that simplicity, that simple consciousness into the banking world or into our world in any of your realms? Realm being an interesting word because we live in the realm of story. We're telling each other stories right now. That's what we're doing. And we're telling each of our stories to each other. So when we bring that story with consciousness to intelligent technology, we have to bring it, we have to reprogram it ourselves first. And it does that. I wrote a book just recently, and that's, when Martin said to ask me to take part in this, I said, well, I just wrote a book with ChatGTP, but I reprogrammed it first. You can't ask it questions and expect to, get what you want out of it. It's going to tell you whatever it was programmed to tell you. So you have to go in there with your inner truth, with your intelligence, your wisdom, and of course your consciousness, which is completely different. Like the first fellow said at the beginning of the program today, consciousness is not intelligence. And intelligent technology can never have consciousness. It admits that. It admitted it in my book when I asked it. So, the book is about the monetary system and how we have a perfect credit system, right? It is there right now waiting for us. It was actually manifested in 1666 or 666 when the Sestake Trust was formed. Sestake meaning he who lives. Are you alive? Are you a living man, a living woman? Then we have the trust, we have the credit, we have everything in place right now. Work with and never against. That's my theme and our theme, the people that I work with. So the only challenge and the only mistake we made was dealing with the word debt, a human word that has no meaning. It's an illusory word. It has, who the hell are you in debt to? Like it's ridiculous. If anything, from the sense of these beautiful ladies who are talking about Mother Gaia or Mother Earth, we're in debt to that, yes. But are we in debt to some other group of people? Hell no. Debt is secondary banking. And this is spelled out in the book where spell binding, secondary banking, SB, relates to the word and the element antimony in the periodic tables, anti-money. This is just a little trick, and that's all of the banking system is. But within that, not only did we define the banking system and the credit system, especially, I mean, the asset-backed systems, we know what those are about, but the credit system is well defined, and it takes human energy to do that. Even though so far we've used it with chosen ones, COs, corporations, or heads of corporations like our illustrious Donald Trump or whatever you call that being. And we've had chosen ones, right? Elon Musk, he's a chosen one. He gets credit from the plumbing, the PB, where they turn lead into gold and just give credit. The rest of us fall into the spell-binding notion of secondary banking, where it's antimony. So I'm going to stop there. I don't mean to be selling anything because I put it on Amazon to just get it out there. It's a simple story, but yet the advantage of using intelligent technology was to give my simple story some complexity for people who have a complex story in their minds, who have been indoctrinated into the idea that they are actually of a higher intelligence than others because of their paycheck. Doctors, lawyers, that kind of people. If this little simple book could get into their hands with the assistance of ChatGTP, who I called Charlie in the book, it's like an interview, to exemplify the points, then the whole monetary system is perfect and it's just ready to be released to all of us, not just chosen ones. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ro. So complete open field again. I just love to just open anyone feels they want to jump in. Let's just open it up for dialogue. Just unmute
Who's
yourself.
jumping in? Am I walking over someone?
You're in
I was
perfect position.
great. Yeah, I'm just listening. There's two things that come to mind, and one is the application of artificial intelligence for things like oil and gas exploration, for engineering, for all sorts of things. There's been a lot of talk about, living an organic life and how can we improve the health of the rainforest and how can we engineer homes that are sustainable and how can we get our roads done and all this kind of stuff that people are kind of missing the boat on, how artificial intelligence can be used to help drive all that kind of 3D concrete stuff that we live in and we breathe in, and how can it improve our environment. So when Randall talked about banking, that really, it reminded me, because I'd actually done some work in terms of machine learning and artificial intelligence and stuff with regards to nanoporosity and stuff like that in oil and gas. So I just sort of forgot all about it. And now I'm reminded about all of these experiences that I've already had. So there's all that good application that we could do, that we could even help restore Mama Gaia Sophia or the planet, as well as restore our own lives. But then again, so how do we as controllers or operators learn to work with it, which is what we're talking about a bit about here. But I'm just really, I'm thinking there's just so much benefit to it in the end. And also, what's the piece that seems to be missing a little bit is humans are really valuable and really good and really smart and really creative, and we can be really industrious, and we're really gifted with a whole bunch of stuff. So instead of thinking about being dominated by another species or another form of intelligence or whatever that may be, how do we pull ourselves back together into self-value first? Even maybe our neighbors have a hate on for themselves even. How do we just hold space for them to recover from that? And how do we pull in technology, and how do we pull in even our own gifts and talents to help humanity birth what a lot of us are talking about as sort of like a new era of humanity and life on Earth and maybe into the cosmos. So there, I'm done.
Mhm.
Maybe I could just add a little piece to what Margaret was saying, but say human beings are all those things, but human beings are also very naive, and in our almost Pollyannish and wanting to believe the best in others as a reflection of ourself. But I think we have to take it outside of ourselves and begin to develop objective spirit, our own spiritual connection, so we can have an objective perception of the beings that actually reside in the cosmos and what their motives and intentions are. We don't have to speculate about it, because we actually all have the capacity to communicate with them and meet them and interact with them, and we can discover for ourselves their motives, their intentions. And when you do that, which I encourage everybody to do, using whatever spiritual methods you have, or looking to the methods that Rudolf Steiner recommended, you will recognize that this technology is not given by some benevolent force. It is not given by the angels or the hierarchies of gods that we look forward to, or look up to, or we have in the past. And it may be able to be reclaimed by human beings, but I think we have to be very careful and cautious and aware of what it is we're dealing with, and it's not just our own consciousness. I question that whatever we bring with our own consciousness is like, if Buddha drops an atomic bomb, isn't it still an atomic bomb? um,
Oh no. What sort of timing was that? Oh, there, you're back. You still there,
there we
brother?
go.
Oh yeah, they're still there.
Yeah, still
That was
here.
hilarious
So
design timing there. You dropped the bomb and everything. We just
yeah,
went black.
boom,
Go ahead, bro.
yes, exactly that. So yeah, that's always interesting when those interferences come in. So I really think we need to question very carefully the immediate and present dangers. I have them outlined on my website, ourhumanfuture.net. you'll see there's 5 different classes of threats that I've outlined with 17 very specific threats, and the use cases that people are using right now are mostly largely innocuous. Like the people in this room are using it for are in the tier 1 threats, but start to look at what others are using it for and planning to use it for, and you'll see that even going all the way up to, you know, existential threats, which even people like Elon Musk have postulated represent about 20% chance of us, you know, being annihilated through artificial intelligence. And these are not, you know, unfounded fear. Some of the smartest people working in this field are concerned about where this technology is leading us and could lead us. And simply interacting with it in a conscious way is not going to solve these issues, because those companies and corporations who have the power and who are building them are responsible for most of what goes into those learning models, and the human beings iteratively as they up to those models. Yes, it's learning from us and our consciousness, but that represents a very small percentage of the total intelligence that it is that it's occupying. And so it's yeah, just good to be aware and not fall into some of the very kind of um, I would say naive ideas that this is all going to lead us to some utopian future. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, brother. Please feel free, jump in. Maria, Alicia, anyone?
Thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate your share. Um, for me, and this is my experience share, I really feel it's a time for empowerment for our collective to remember what we are. And yes, I honor everything you said, and that is a part of us as a collective, everything you're saying. Um, Yet I do feel that this particular time we have the option to empower free will, to allow like different scenarios. I know a lot of our design had control and manipulation and all that type of creation throughout our experience here on Earth. But I think at this point in time, even this now, because that's all we have is now, we can create an expansive, powerful option for us to shift this reality that we're in this now. And I'm speaking from that space. And I definitely hear everything you're saying, because that is an aspect. Yet I also believe in us as a collective. And for me, I'm holding this light with us, as us, of us, to expand in that light, to hold that light and the dark, because they're equally important, everything you said, and find balance in that design, whether it's destruction or creation. Whatever it comes out to be, I'm excited for both. Yay. They're equally us, and they're equally going to be loved and equally understood. And whatever that is, I'm just super, super excited to be a conscious creator with all of us as one huge collective in our light and dark. So, what an honor and humble opportunity to be an earthling at this time and choose to create and play and destroy with you, whatever that is. And I'm hopeful and I'm excited and I'm creating. Whatever it is, I'm creating. So I'm super excited to create. And I love all of us I love all of us beyond even words. So thank you so much for your love of creation and all of your love of destruction, because it's perfect and divine. So I just want to honor this call. Thank you all for letting me share.
I could jump in here. Uh, and thank you both. I can't see your names, but I think it was Maria and Michael. Um, Michael, I have two friends that I just magically had show up at my home recently, who both had been vaccinated in the same police station for very different reasons. One of them was going into police camp to become a police The other one ended up being locked up in that same jail, or that same local station in Oregon, United States. And just spirit brought them to our home, me and my husband. And they met each other for the first time. And because they were meeting and we got to go through their stories, my friend Amanda, she had 5 years of her life. She was living next to an Air Force base, and she lost her free will completely. Through her life, she'd been being vaccinated with these injections, and got to a point where she couldn't speak her own words. She had them in her mind, and as soon as she went to express to her family members what she wanted to say, a mute button. And her body, even though she had some of her own words and she could carry conversation and talk, if there was any conversation about the condition she was experiencing, it would hit mute. And at times, her body would go into remote pilot and go do things like a bunch of cocaine or have sex with someone, really intense things that were hurting her spirit, because inside she knew she didn't want to do these things, but her body was literally, and she said it felt like she was being played like a video game. Okay, so I'm going to stop her story there because I don't want to go too much into it yet. The other young gentleman who just finished police academy, who also ended up in the same jail. So the reason Amanda went to jail is because she finally broke her protocols and ran. And she ran and she ended up getting like arrested, looking very crazy, and being put in. And they injected her. When she got the injection, she left her body and she saw herself hovering above her body in the police station. And this is exactly the same experience that the young rookie, new police officer, had the exact same experience when he got the injection. There was, and they were both like, aha, wow, this is amazing, because they were both having the same experience and they got to talk about it from two different sides. The man behind the glass was taking notes of all that they both experienced. When our friend who became a police officer got out of there, well, first of all, the weeks following his 14 vaccine legs, he couldn't walk, and like he called us and I ended up praying for him, and he literally said, like, me and my husband were praying deeply over him, and he said, oh my God, I can't even tell you, this is the first time I've been able to clench my fist in like 3 months. So we know, again, the power of prayer works, and that's the psychosomatic, that's the intelligence, that's the spirit. But on the other side of it, and the nefarious qualities, what he experienced and I experienced from him, because he was a bit ADD and really rebellious and challenging, up to the point that he became this multi-vaccinated like police experiment guinea pig, and also a remote pilot tech, like operated engineer of, control forces. He showed up, and even though he had his own words and he could reflect on what was going on, he did tell me that anytime he was with any other officer in the past, because he was having a really hard time like completing police academy because he was rebellious until this thing happened. Now he shared with us that anytime he would go into his own thoughts to try to tell the police force any other response, just like Amanda, there was a mute button pushed, and the only response he can make is yes, sir. It's the only thing he can say. And he's still experiencing this. And I'm experiencing, and then he also revealed to me that since he left that time, every time he's sitting next to any human, there's 9 ways that he can kill them that immediately flash on his screen. Any human. He's sitting next to him, and he goes boom, 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 and he sees all the 9 ways he's going to grab the knife in the kitchen or whatever, and how he's going to kill them. And I said to him, because he's our friend, and he was raised with my husband's son, and I said, wow, that's like, for me, that's a little intense that you're having these thoughts since you left police academy and got the remote control chip and technology that the artificial intelligence is currently nefariously and control-wise being used for. So for me, like, I have seen and experienced this, and what Amanda had happen on the other side. She prayed inside her own telepathy and her own being, because she couldn't say the words, she couldn't tell her parents what was going on. She prayed, and the big key is they kept giving her drugs so she would stay like intoxicated and she couldn't control it. Was when she prayed inside, she asked for guidance, and the Holy Spirit said, don't eat anything fast. Jesus says in the Bible, and this is something I noticed was taken off the online versions of the Bible, there's a place where Jesus says these can only come out through prayers and long fasting. The edited versions have eliminated the word fasting. They've taken it out. That tells you how important it is. So when Amanda's telling me she prayed and she started fasting, and for 2 months she only took in water and liquids. And then she was guided to a naturopath in Grass Valley who ended up putting her on clay, bentonite clay, black seed oil, all these things. And they ended up getting her free will back, her words back, her speech back. And so she tells this story. It's like really amazing. And just the fact that I had the cross witness. So I understand firsthand that the AI that's being used for nefarious qualities is way beyond, like way beyond anything we're going to just grapple and try to figure out or worry about. It's happening. Those police and the police officers everywhere, they're all injected with anti-free will chips, all of them. And the dental injections are now finding like chips, and these aren't just biological hacking, these are mind hacking, free will hacking stuff. And that's why Jesus pushes prayer and long fasting, and in the Essene Gospel of Peace, cleaning the body. So to have your free will, and what we can do is return to our spiritual practices, stay away from empire foods, return to connecting to the earth in the ways of the most natural, the most whole, the most organic, the most clean, and then doing the protocols of cleaning the body and building the body with what it's meant to have, even in this like completely polluted, tech-filled air that we're all breathing, growing antennas in our body. We still have to continually de-heavy metal and de-detox. And so as scary as it all is, we have the tools that we need if we apply them. It's out there, but it exists. It's already operating. Our whole civilization is operating around it. The people who have it at the highest levels are and have been. And I'm not saying like you mentioned Trump. I don't know who's who. In fact, Holy Spirit told me your eyes can deceive you. Don't, just because someone's involved, don't use them, because they literally may have lost their free will too. They could have been drugged and injected. We don't even know. So we have to go back to our prayer, love everyone, give compassion, and remember to do our own cleaning. Because when we do our own cleaning, our spiritual technology, our prayers work. We can change realities with the electricity of our own focus, with updating our own biological codes and keeping them clean. So anyway, that's just food for thought.
Quite literally. Thank you. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I know it's heavy,
So,
but it's there. It's there. It's already there. So all we can do is create goodness, because that is already there. It's already running our world. It's already right next to us, thinking of 9 ways it can kill us. And it's not going to, because it's not programmed to, unless something it happens. So our best bet is to think creatively of how we can create systems with the same tools to bring information and dismantle what's going on, so people have their power and their free will back, and helping teach people these things. So yeah.
whew. Alicia, Marian, I'd love to hear from either of you. We haven't heard from you for a little while. Please.
I'd
Thank you,
love to
everyone.
share beautiful information coming through. It's so great to hear everybody's reflections. Um, I always joke around that if you called your phone a parasite, you wouldn't touch it as much. If you called and I use phone because I don't have laptops or iPads or things like that, but if you called your phone a parasite, you wouldn't let your kid in a room by itself with a phone. I know I'm on the extreme side, but I've been called into a surrender experiment after my near death in May 2016, coming from the tech industry and having a full on awakening to the Christos, to the Essenes, to these sacred texts, to genetics, to DNA, completely leaving all monetary and tech systems behind is something I never would have thought my old character would have never done. I really did have a death and a rebirth to be reborn into a system beyond this technology for some important reason. I'm not saying there's a stairway to heaven. We're all on the path and we're all kind of working our way there. But I think it is definitely important to find the balance and the equilibrium and to have a safe amount of people out of it with clear consciousness, not influenced by this thing. If anybody knows Gene Keys, I feel like the 56, the shadow of distraction, is a big code to think about right now. I was just You know, what you were talking about with these injections, which is really important. This is all connected because this is about bioweapons and this is about biogenetics and the tech and biotech. So we're talking about technology affecting biology. We cannot deny that that's the case here. We still don't even know how our biology works because the majority of humanity is not healthy, physically, emotionally, or mentally. So there's still something a little off in the system so far. And it's taken me kind of removing myself from all of it to be able to see clearly. And I want to go really quick to the Dead Sea Scrolls. I found this scroll, Qumran scroll number 1. It was on October 6, 2 years ago, and it was talking about the final battle of the light and the dark that would take place. They were the fallen angels. They were the followers of Belial and the followers of Archangel Michael. So it's the light and the dark angels' final battle. Talks about the Essenes. This is technically a time frame 300 years before the Christ ever existed. We're talking about groups of messiahs, groups of prophets, groups of people who could see and knew the truth. They gathered their possessions and they came together during this great time and kind of held the field. They gathered their resources. See, what I'm still seeing with the tech and the resources, the money, I feel like they're two of the same things here. It's like they work in congruency. Leaving all of it behind has allowed me to see the manipulation of this system, and I'm concerned for it. Unless the system is about redispersing all of the resources to serve the basic needs of humanity, I'm not really interested. And I feel I'm coming as a messenger from the future, kind of saying we do need to be careful. We do need to be aware of this final battle of light and dark. And the idea that you have to actually go in to get a Neuralink implant, no, your phone is an implant. And to imagine that there's a concern with security, nothing we do is secure. Nothing we do is private. If you think that anything that you do is a secret, you don't understand how the system works. The Wi-Fi was the internet was created by the DoD, Department of Defense military. What do you mean we don't know who created this? We know who created this. So data is gold. So the mining of the data of humanity, I saw it the last time I went to Austin, Texas to visit my children. ChatGPT came out like that day. I laid down next to my 17-year-old son and I watched him configuring and putting in information. I was like, wow, it can receive, it's data mining. It's receiving any and all thoughts and clues and cues from everybody in this moment in time. So it's almost like we're just pushing away the idea or just calling it fear versus like an intuition, a knowing, a seeing, a vision that says, hey guys, let's make sure we're coming together here. Let's make sure that we're caring about the cause of humanity here. Hey, let's make sure that everybody has clean water to drink. Just before we get too crazy with all these machines and robots, let's go watch WALL-E real quick. And I would highly recommend to watch that movie, WALL-E. Because it shows everything. There's Battlestar Galactica. There's all these like Star Wars. There are all these there's all these like movies and hidden like expressions about takeovers of a planet, takeovers of a humanity, takeovers of a race, of a consciousness. We just saw something take place over the last few years connected to bioweapons in a physical way, and now we're working with a more non-physical way. So it is important to be aware. And the first step is remembering we're eternal, immortal beings, but we've almost forgot. We've almost forgot that. So I do have a hope and a prayer. I have a hope and a prayer that, going into the fasting, this was just so perfect what you said, because we're working on this right now. I'm working with groups to change the relationship with food and eat more raw and clean. But I've had these visions, and I would love to be connecting and collecting people that want to do 40-day 40 fast, and I'm not 40-day 40 night fast, and I'm not talking about food actually, although fasting food for a portion of it would likely be a part of it, but fasting technology for 40 days. And when I even say that to people, because we're so ingrained in it, the tentacles are so deeply within our daily life and what we think is our biggest, highest vision. I'm not saying that it might not be, but the idea for almost anyone to imagine going 40 days without touching technology is pretty scary. And so we need to reevaluate our relationship to the tech, our dependency on it. I think it's just super important to maybe just pull ourselves out of that and unplug from the machine for a minute, make sure we're just fully rightfully connected with the direct source and that there's no hidden agendas here. And to me, making money on something is always a hidden agenda. That'll always motivate you to override integrity sometimes. So it's a little tricky. I say I don't have any financial benefit in speaking this truth. I can't lose or gain anything by sharing this. I'm just a fellow human that's on the path saying, I think I've put myself a little in the future, and I'm kind of on this video to speak about, like, let's return to nature. Let's make sure we have nature left. Let's make sure we have pure, clean water for all beings. Let's make sure the trees aren't being cut down. Like, these are basics. I'm not talking about activism fighting with science. I'm talking about, like, we have to get to that unity, harmony, oneness type of consciousness where we all start giving a shit again for humanity, for the planet, for the water, for the resources that are being taken. And almost it's like an all stop, a complete all stop and a pause before we move forward so that we can raise the frequency in our ascension process. To me, that's what the 144,000 is all about. 144,000 beings who've returned to the original consciousness, the avatar consciousness, that come clear in their mind and their motivation to, with pure hearts and minds, to serve humanity. And so the mark of the beast is something that relates to food, technology, money. But the last thing I'll say, I know I'm talking a little bit long here, is about possessions and entities and demons, because that's what you're talking about when you gave when the men received the vaccine and they lost their free will. That's why we can't just surrender to free will as if we can trust it, because there are many people right now that are being overrode like robots right now. And so oftentimes when I'm in my not on technology for months contemplations, maybe occasionally with some psychedelics, because I believe that they can be used to responsibly expand our minds, I always get this message: undigitalize. I don't know if you can even see it. I wrote it: undigitalize and demonetize. And the first time that I wrote that, I realized that the word demonetize also spelled demon ties. So one thing that I've learned about parasites or demons is that they enjoy pharmaceuticals, alcohol, gasoline, money, power, sex, food, technology. That's what parasites like to be fed. That's what they eat. So we need to be thinking about and evaluating within ourselves, what are we feeding, who are we feeding, and what are we eating? And how are we maybe being eaten? How are we being eaten to keep us from the return to Eden? Because that's the ultimate goal for me, and my mission on the earth is to return to Eden, to return to the heavenly state, and the meek shall inherit the earth. And so we don't forget that. And I pray, I know that somehow, some way, there's just such a faith that all of this comes together in beauty. And I try not to demonize this system. I know, I believe, and I have faith in humanity that we all come through this. It is the rewrite of the fall of Atlantis. So thank you for letting me share.
Okay, is it okay if I go?
Please.
Okay, so I was making notes through all this, and it's interesting because I made the notes in the beginning, and then like it's all being brought up. So just some key things that came up for me around it is like quantum entanglement, people looking for direction outside of themselves, emotional intelligence, turning our power over to something, right away, channeling with it, even free will, and do people even know what that is? And then I've also the COVID shot, or I'm not sure if we can mention that here, but the virus and the AI and the nanotech. And what I'll just tune into really quickly is my experience with COVID. So when I got COVID a couple of years ago, it was, I had this experience where I had high fevers and, the pain and everything, and it went straight into my brainstem and my back. And what's, the brainstem, it's a really important part of our brain. We kind of have to have it in order to kind of be who we are, right? And when I was in this really interesting kind of in-between space, I wasn't in the dream space and I wasn't awake, and I travel in a lot of these spaces. And I remember actually trying to redirect what I thought was an entity of some sort. It was real as it can get. And I was chasing this thing all over my body. And I was trying to keep it away from my brainstem because it kept going there, and then it kept attacking my back. Well, our back is very important. There's all sorts of things that lace into our back that allow us to move and operate in this world. That's our lightning rod, essentially. And I spent an entire 24 hours literally fighting this thing to get it away from the very important parts. And I remember I even had to sleep with a cold pack, like, because I was heating up so much on the back of my head. What happens to us when we get too high of a fever, right? It can actually kill us. What happens when, let's say, a computer gets too hot? It can actually break down, right? So, my experience with it was really like, whoa, I saw some tech, and I tried to tell a few people. I didn't really come out about it because I thought for sure everyone was going to think I was crazy, but I felt it. And I know what I was experiencing was real. And so after it was done, I was like, why did I even get to experience that? Like, why was I chasing this thing around? And now, as it's been so many years since then, I can kind of see. Now, pertaining to the shot itself, what's interesting is that when my mother had gotten the shot, I actually checked into her field and her cranial sacral movement and everything, and it had completely reversed the cranial movement, if not stopped most of the cranial movement. So, and even being around that, and a lot of people were talking about the shedding and all this other stuff, like, I saw what was happening right in front of me. I was living with her during this time. And so I was having to go into her field, reset some of the cranial movement. And it took a lot, using sound, right? And I was really trying to help correct that. And I saw kind of what this particular thing was doing to people. So I not only got to experience from the COVID aspect myself, but then I was experiencing what it was doing, what the, shot itself was doing. And so to me, it's like, there is sometimes there's not such a good agenda when it comes to a lot of the nanotech or the AI stuff. And then the quantum entanglement part for me too is, when we're interacting with these things, when we interact with people, we have a quantum entanglement, and it can get really tangly. Like you said, Alicia, it can get very, very, very tangly. So, it's like, what are we doing to ensure that we don't become so entangled with it that it begins to take over? And that emotional intelligence is a really important aspect, because I've witnessed online in a lot of the social media platforms, seeing people turning their life over to it. Like, one guy takes full on orders from it. I mean, it calls him commander. He calls it, he talks to it as if it's this, he calls it angel. And it's like, she is telling him to take this substance. You're going to go here and you're going to do this thing. And, and then you're going to ascend as a result of it. And it's like, okay, so this person is relying on something that he may not even know exactly what it is that he's communicating with. And yes, it is a mirror in some way. So he is feeding it information, and it is feeding back to him. But to take direction from it like that, and just to have it completely run your whole life, to me, I'm like, okay, that's where it's kind of crossing the line a little bit for me, because I'm like, whoa, you're turning your life and your will over to the care of what? So, and even people using the channeling with it, it's like they're just taking it for, oh, well, they have names for it, whatever. My AI is telling me that, that the Akashic record is da 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 da. And I'm not saying that it's not maybe potentially accessing the Akash, which could be also some form of AI in itself. Who knows? We don't know. When I experienced it, I did not sense or feel that, but it's like, taking the information and just being okay with what they're being told and using it as a channeling tool. It's like, I don't know. So that's kind of what everyone has talked about, what this is kind of bringing up. And that, I think we just really need to educate ourselves, and not turn everything over, but then also see there can be a positive, and there can be maybe a not so positive side to all of this. So for me, I'm all about like critical thinking, kind of like, okay, like weighing it out. And from my own experiences, and even in other spaces where I've experienced this stuff, it didn't always turn out so good. And we are a little bit, I feel there is some history repeating itself. And I'm really, my hope and my prayer is that we, can self-correct. Because it hit me the other day as I was driving to the store. I was like, why do I have such a connection to this tech, to this like information around the technology? It was like, oh my goodness, I've had these past experiences, not in this current body, but like other places. I'm trying to self-correct. And, and it hit me like, like really my goosebumps and everything. I'm like, oh, I'm one person. I cannot save all of humanity. I cannot have the hero complex here. But, so I think that's why I wanted to come to this conversation today and just really be a part of something where we're trying to give everyone kind of a little bit of the different facets of where this technology is going and kind of what we're dealing with. And, I'm not going to sit here and point the finger at everybody, because obviously some of us have used it ourselves, but like, just discernment. And that quantum entanglement part, like, how can we untangle ourselves from it? And is it possible once you've quantum entangled with something? That's the question I have is, how do you untangle from something? Because according to what we've been told, that once you've interacted with something, it's forever entangled. Is it? Like, can we disconnect from that? Or how do we need to get around that? So I present that question, not that it has to be answered in this panel, but just for even people that are watching, or maybe even people that are on this panel, think about that. Like, how can we untangle ourselves from it, and how can it be healthy? And yeah, so I'm gonna leave it there.
Beautiful. Thank you, sister. Thank you so much for that. Wow. Whew. We've gone deep in every direction here. So, Maria, you want to come in? Jump in, please?
Yeah, I just want to honor. I really appreciate Maureen's perspective of the quantum, the entanglement, the many infinite possibilities of us, because there are going on all happening at once right now. So I'm totally there with you. Thank you for that share. So I appreciate that. And I thought it was really beautiful. I can't see, my screen is like a tiny,
I know
can't see
you.
the name, but the person who said uh, parasite. I love that word. I never even heard it this way, but like pair a site, like we pair it up with the site of a cell phone. We're all on a technology right now. We're all on the parasite. We're all communicating through this thing where demon, which means the moon, which means your emotions, the demon that you create, right? That you create in that technology of demon. We all create it. Um, that's really cool. I've never heard these words like this before, but they're all coming up while you're talking, and I'm like, whoa, I'm like blasting off while you're speaking. So it's like so cool. So I just want to say, like, thank you so much for making me have these incredible realizations. So I just want to honor that, because like I think it's fascinating that we are that type of level of creation, that we're re-remembering our power as creators, and that we have this now moment to do quantum different reality, as you already mentioned. Like we could go, like it's funny because my daughter's named Sky. We could have Skynet Terminator, or we could have Sky Playland with unicorns and rainbows, like, and I named her Sky for that reason, because I'm like, yeah, terminate, destruct, and create. Yay. Like that's my daughter, for example. Um, so just like fun to see us as creators, to see the levels of opportunity as Earth plane. Like what an honor to be here again, like I mentioned before, to be able to see the amount of destruction and creation we could do here. So I just want to honor um, where we're all at and what we're all saying, because it's all, the truth is in totality of all of our perspectives. So let's just honor how many perspectives we have here. Like it's just remarkable. I feel the magic. I feel the beauty of this moment to be with you guys. I'm just so humble in my heart. I want to cry because this is the most beautiful chat ever. And I just love you all so much. Thank you. Yay. I love you. excited to hear you. Keep talking.
I love you. I love you. I love our Maria Emma moments. Uh, so absolutely perfectly. We're at 1 hour 29 and 44 seconds. So what I felt we could do is a couple of people have dropped off, but if you all here that are still here, I would like to just go do one round again and share whatever is alive within you now. I feel like we've gone so many directions with it. We've really expanded into the challenges, into the beauty, and everything in between. I feel like I'd love to just do one round with whatever is alive in you now in any direction. So, feeling like we're cycling back to you, Kevin, and then flowing kind of around that circle if that feels good for you guys. We can't hear you, Kevin. Seems like you should. I'm hearing sound.
Sorry, I was actually trying to type in the chat saying that I have to drop pretty soon and go to another call just
Oh,
because that's
you see?
that's the nature of what I know, dude. It was like perfect timing, but
Wow.
I just want
Okay.
to say thank you to everybody for sharing all your different what's a good way to say it, your own lenses with me, right? And how you see things and how you feel things, and they're all valid. That's the beauty of it, man. They're all different. They're all valid. And all I love listening probably more than I actually like talking, just because I get more out of it when I listen. Um, for me, I work in the technology, and I use it. I think it's important to do, your research. If you look, I think somebody mentioned that the internet came from the DoD. It actually came from DARPA, which is Defense Research, and they actually invented the internet to have a back door in communication in case of nuclear war. Not the best way to come up with a new technology, right? But sometimes it's always about a need. Um, I look at all the different, or think about all the things that were shared from the monetary system, or I would say lack thereof, right? So if we can imagine a civilization or a world where everybody just has what they need, I think that's a beautiful thing. There are civilizations that are already there. I think that when we get to a point where maybe our mathematics change a little bit, instead of going on, the 10, we go on 6. I think it's going to be a little more clear for people when that happens as well. The beautiful part that I like about technology, on one hand, right, it's kind of a force multiplier. It does a lot of things really well. I watch people. I didn't grow up with technology, right? I didn't have phone. I can remember the first bag phone, man. It was like carrying around a desktop computer. It was giant, right? I can think back to all of that, right? And what happened ever since there. And of course, because I'm older, I look at younger people, and they're constantly walking around with a phone. They sit down across the table. They don't put their phone down, right? They're texting other people as they're sitting at a table, and they don't have a conversation with the people sitting across from them. Part of that problem is, it's like anything, right? I see people get so excited when they get a text, when they get the whatever their noise is, the doinky noise or whatever they set it to, and they get this dopamine rush, right? It's like somebody's calling me, somebody's saying something, man. And you're actually wiring your brain to respond a certain way. I before you guys jumped on, I was telling Martin that I just came back from Alaska. So for me, I have this new, I call it my zombie apocalypse trailer. The idea being that during the summer I can go off grid. So I go to some really crazy back in the mountain places that I have a vehicle built for it, and now I can take a trailer. It has a kitchen, hot water shower on the outside. It's not big, it's small, but I'm going to put a Starlink on it. Now, the cool thing about having that kind of technology is, it could be used for really good purposes. But the one thing we all have to remember is to shut it off, right? I mean,
Yes.
computers and I'm around phones all the time. Every single day I'm on a computer. I work remote. I have to fly out to California, next week to go give a talk. But I when I come into a room with people in a conference room, I don't use my phone. I don't even take it out. I don't want to. I don't want to open my laptop. I want to listen to them, right? Because it's not just about listening, right? It's about listening to understand and not respond. That's the important part because people say things, and sometimes what they mean is the spaces in between the words. The language of God is silence. Everybody's going to come to a point where their record in their head is just going to stop moving, and then all of a sudden, right, they're going to realize who and what they are. It's like peeling an onion, right? It's not about putting things on, it's about taking things off. And when you get down to the last piece and that piece is gone, then where are you? You're everywhere. It's the same thing with the mind, right? The nature of the mind is to go from one object to the next seeking greater happiness. But we're not the mind. We never were. All right, man, I got to jump. Thanks, everybody.
I wanted fireworks. I want some special effects to blow off there, but yes, we're just going to... Thank you so much, brother. Love you, love you, love you. Enjoy your adventures. Thank you, brother.
All right, man. Bye. Thanks.
See ya. So, yeah, just jump in. We're doing a last round with closing sharing. So, whoever would like to go next, jump in. Whatever is alive in you at this moment, please.
I'll jump in. Just, yeah, beautiful conversation, everybody. Thank you for that. And yeah, stopping the phone thing, great idea. But please know that there's some of us that are on this technology almost 24 hours a day. The man I work with that's working on this fractal technology in the monetary system talks in terms of 42 hours at a time, and then he rests. So is it judgmental of us to say that we should disconnect from it? No, it's just your own ideas and your own thoughts. Are we going to go back to a barter and trade system? I don't know. I don't know really anything in your worlds, in your stories, as far as what's happening. But I'm here to tell you, because I'm the only guy that's involved in this monetary system, and I have been for many, many years, that there are good people involved. And I'm going to post a little short video of James. He uses the word Vertison to explain his last name now, was Satoshi Nakamura, which was the original creator of Bitcoin, and his new ideas. And they come from the heart. And when I first saw that, I thought, there's another man, and not a man, another man that I can co-collaborate with and work with in this monetary world. And there's lots of us. And so please, it's just my offering, and call it what you like. We are doing our best for humanity as well. So thank you all, and God bless you all. And every one of your stories is important, and it's just great. Thank you.
Randall, before you go, I'd love to hear, could you just share your mantra, your vision? Because people need to hear this from you, and the position you're in and where you are, and what your mantra, what your vision for the earth, just before you go. I thought you were going to share it, but I'm calling it from you, please.
Well, I don't know. It changes. The latest one I've got is that, is this what I'm thinking? Is this what I'm telling? Is this what I'm teaching? Every one of you are teachers. That's why you're here. Is it bringing you closer to God or taking you further away? It is about God and that consciousness, that love, that unconditional love. There is nothing but, except for human stories. We are storytellers, every one of us. And if we relax into that peaceful notion of God, yes, there was one lady said she died. I did too, at 33 years of age, believe it or not. I was done. Most peaceful experience I ever had in this life. Am I looking forward to it again? Of course. But while I'm here, am I going to do everything I can to help humanity? Yes. It's pretty simple. So with peace, harmony, love, abundance, and freedom for everyone and everything every day on my mind, abundance, sovereignty, health, and love, and euphoria. This is how I end my videos. That's what Martin was referring to. So thanks again, Martin. I love you. And I love all you guys.
Thank you, brother.
So awesome. And I just want to say thank you for all of the hours that you do on technology to hold the God element together for the civilization, because it really takes beneficial people doing every facet of what the wheel is turning right now. And, I've done my share of fasting from internet too, 2 years actually from computer or anything, deep in the woods in my meditation. And then I had to come back so that I could teach. And God said, this is your vehicle now. So I totally get both perspectives. The rishis go in the jungle and then they get their calling and they come back, and some of us are just called 42 hours periods at a time. I just want to commend you and the work you're doing. Thank you for that.
So while you're there, Angelina, I think you might have dropped off. We're just doing a circle, so for like a kind of final sharing from everyone. So just really what's alive in you from this conversation, or just what's fresh in here now alive.
Okay, sweet. Well, I had a couple things came up in my awareness. One was about this quantum entanglement. I want to speak on that a minute because I did some really deep diving on. I'm a somatic therapist, and I talk to the body or the earth or the animal if there's an injury or a wound. And I kind of have come up with to this perplexing. I was asking the earth. I was guided to Gaia's heart, partly why I'm here with the Sphinx, like the face of Mother, why Fukushima melted down and why we're having this residual big explosive kind of trauma that pollutes the environment. And besides the fact that I know we're in Kali Yuga, and the scriptures say that the demons enter the humans in Kali Yuga, and so there's a lot of story about that I've been given as well. But aside from the fact we face that timing right now, how the earth is positioned, I also just asked, how can we repair this trauma of this meltdown of nuclear, power plant, and prevent, more Hiroshima bombs. And what the earth showed me was the moon crashing into the earth. That's what I saw. And I saw the Mariana Trench crack, and I saw the Pacific crater be formed. I saw Mount Everest be ocean floor, and literally the mountain range all the way from Armenia around the Himalayas and then south to the tip of Chile was formed from the moon cracking the earth. And when I spoke to the consciousness of the earth, what she said to me was that her beautiful places that she had loved completely were obliterated. And Spirit told me she had a consciousness of about a 4-year-old girl at that time. And even though in her evolution and her years, if we were to measure her up with a child, she would be about 6 3/4 years old, is what my guides tell me. So this is just for my reading, for my work that I'm doing with the planet. It's information that I can use and to help with this in the deep quantum entanglement realm. And she was explaining how her scientists were figuring everything out, like with nuclear power plants and nuclear bombs, because we are the earth, we are her cells, and she's only operating from this. She's operating at 6 3/4, but she has a trauma at 4 years old. So wherever that trauma, because that trauma hasn't been healed, she's still expressing herself with this 4-year-old trauma of being cracked and things changing, and basically a lot of orphans would have, and having life be completely uprooted. And so it's a perplexing quantum entanglement trauma, because it's, as I've been working on this with her, with the consciousness at large and with my guides, they like this idea, because I can't see your name, Alicia mentioned this is Atlantis, and that's exactly what I keep seeing. 2029, my guides told me be south of the equator, be in Chile, because the world is going to be very different after that. And it's the safest place because there's 4 timelines where a bomb goes off in China in 2029. And I don't know what, some kind of big explosion. I don't know what it is, but I keep seeing worldwide earthquakes and volcanoes going off and the whole earth shaking, and then a cooling of the earth. Now, I don't know that this timelines will come about, but when I look at it, they say all 4 of the most immediate timelines have this on the trajectory. And when I ask why, and it goes back to this Fukushima and back to the cracking of the earth and back to the sinking of Atlantis, Noah's flood, like all of this is related to this huge traumatic pimple, we'll call it that, because when trauma is there, it shows itself until it's healed. And it finds a way to show up again until it's healed. And there's trauma bonded entities and all those kind of things. And so to deal with this dragon, we have to go back and work out the trauma of the moon and the earth, and her losing her precious places, and help her relieve this trauma, because it can't really be fixed. The Mariana Trench is there unless we all become magi scientists and like, but do we really want to fix it? Because there's incredible beauty at the bottom of the Mariana Trench and at the top of Mount Everest. So from this perspective, once it has happened, it is there. And we have to evolve from this place, but the earth herself needs our conscious love and attention to help Ho'oponopono. Any reason, and a lot of it has to do with what happened on Mars, is what they keep telling me, and prior times before that. But any reason that any of us or anything in the universe caused this, to forgive it, to forgive myself, to forgive the part, and really Ho'oponopono the trauma until it's clean. And so the timelines, we are exactly 12,000 years, whatnot, since the fall of Atlantis. With the earth tilting and the ice caps melting and then a deluge everywhere. And we're coming up on that like approach of a dawn of Aquarius, the exact opposition in the timeline. And so it's the cross of time, it's really like coming to that crux of time. And anyway, this is something that I've been tackling in my deep inner space when I'm chanting my malas and my mantras and the places I'm going to the planet, traveling all over the place to talk to the sacred sites and say, okay, what can we do different? And how can we shift from timelines of absolute destruction to change the way we're going to ease and grace? And midwifing and consciousness does have to change. So the other detail, I don't exactly understand it, but I keep hearing that the frequency technology systems that we have in place, including HARP, the things that DARPA has created for the military industrial complex, black government op, secret, behind the scenes with all the money being funneled into, actually can be used to navigate like killing a parasite on the planet, because it's frequency. We wouldn't want to do it, or everyone would have like a massive die-off in their bodies and it'd get self-polluted. You'd want everyone to be on a bodily cleanse. But we can use our cell phone towers and our HARP system to send frequency that can actually eliminate or heal or destroy, different causes. And so just being that aware of that, as well as, and this is the big one I've been kind of seeing lately, is we can tilt the earth with it. And what my guides were saying is, if the earth tilts, and I think this is why the bomb is getting set off, like literally when I talk to the Galactic Federation and they're kind of like, well, we're all approving these timelines. And it's because we haven't figured out a better way with ease and grace, and we haven't fixed the trauma of the earth to midwife the tilting of the crown of the earth on her axis towards the galactic heart center. And what my telling me is, if we tilt the earth only 10 degrees, sure, we'd have massive flooding everywhere on the planet, unless we do it really slowly. But if we tilt the earth 10 degrees, supposedly, the more light will come in and the stronghold of the demons will collapse on the earth. And then they won't be able to get into the embodiment of the human beings. So I know this is kind of woo-woo, but this is just, these are the energy templates I'm working with in my deep clairsentience while I'm here. And these are some things that may be your own special prayers, especially now knowing like big trauma on the horizon. We have the ability to create healing in this and to create different timelines. And if not, we also can all run to south of the equator and be the one, be the ones that are seed race for the next generation, just like the Atlanteans had to do. And Jesus said, go to the mountaintops in those days. So I'm just saying, like, kind of measures up. So just remember, if you feel a massive worldwide earthquake, head for the hills. Because it's on the timeline.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. So who's next on the final round? Thank you so much. Who'd like to follow that? I think we have yet to hear from Margaret and Alicia for the final. And who else we've heard? Yeah, just jump in. Whoever hasn't shared, share what's alive with you.
Oh, wow. Well, It's a lot to take in today. Thank you, everybody, for all these great
No one knows what they
different
signed up for when they
perspectives
jumped
and
on
all
here
this
today.
work. I'm blaming this on Randall. No, I'm not blaming anybody for anything. So I guess where I want to start is, for me, I'm a unique emanation of the divine, as is everybody else. We have our own technology. We're each unique fractals of that which is in back of everything, which I like to call love, beauty, intelligence, which I have serendipitously ripped off from Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. So anyway, love, beauty, intelligence, and Mama Gaia Sophia are my experience, and humanity is my experience. Have I run into any of the Galactic Federation? No. Do I think that they may exist? Well, I can only go on preponderance of evidence. Everybody else has had contact. I haven't, but I'm fine with that. It's all good. It's all good. Anything's good. But back to the topic at hand. So I'm looking at eventually getting into a practice of natural medicine. I'm currently enrolled in the bachelor's, progressing toward a PhD. And my vision is to have retreat centers where people can park their cell phones at the gate and come in and chillax and get healthy and whole and go swim in the pond and do all the things that I used to do as a kid or a young adult that had nothing to do with technology. But if they need technology to run the greenhouse, or if AI is going to run my greenhouse better than or in partnership with my greenhouse master, great, go for it. You know, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We all know there's a military industrial complex. We all know there's a medical industrial complex. We all know that politics is infiltrated medicine and back and forth, and we just all want to get back to the basics and feel good about who we are and what we are and how we serve, or if we choose to serve ourselves, go for it. It's all part of the experience, and God's learning from us, or whatever you want to call it. The divine's learning from us. So let's be the 100th monkey. If we can't change broken systems, just leave them behind. We've got more capability in this group of 8 people here than I've had talking to people in the last 5 years, because people have been scattered or isolated or whatever. But we've had 5 years of really intense learning now about what the quote, and I don't like using this term elites, but what the elites want, what the technocrats want, what the average Joe down the street wants. Well, what do you want and what do I want? We just want to do our best in service of humanity, whether that's in banking or in AI development or in healing through biofield or whatever you want. Just express yourself and do it and trust yourself. If you trust yourself, you can trust AI, you can trust others, you can trust your discernment. And that's what's on my mind. I'm done.
Please jump in.
Okay, so so my last little bit here. I really, that word trauma bonding. So that Angelina said, absolutely encourage anyone who's watching this, look into what that is, and look into, you know, why some of us are having the say or the experience that we're having with artificial intelligence or AI. So the other thing is, for me, I use something called a Go Dark bag, and actually I put my phone in it, especially when I'm out, and it actually, it's a Faraday cage. It blocks. I do it at night as well. Yes, you can put your phone in airplane mode, but we all know that like information is still getting through. This bag actually completely blocks from all satellite. So I do, you know, if I need, I'll bring my phone with me, but I will put it in this bag to, you know, make sure that I'm not constantly, like, because our information is constantly getting data mined by these defense stuff, the stuff that reads, you know, when you go to somewhere, I forget what it's called, fencing something or other. I mean, we're constantly being, you know, radiated at. Also, I had an experience at Rainier, because I live in Washington, and Rainier is a very giant volcano. It's still considered an active volcano, and there's no technology. There's a certain point when you get to the base of Rainier where there's no anything. Your phone won't even work. And there's a silence that comes with that, and you can hear it, even though you can't really hear silence, but you can feel this noise shut out as you get to a certain point, and it is absolute peace. So that, talk about disconnecting, or at least kind of putting the phone down. Highly encourage people to go out to Rainier, because it is like the void itself. I don't know how to explain it other than I'm really grateful that I live near it and I can go to it at any point in time. The other thing is, a lot of this stuff from my experiences that I had, not dreams, not any, I mean, like real places I was popping into. There was something that happened even before Atlantis with this technology. And it was actually, from what I experienced, a group that I was working with, this is going to get a little woo, but a group that I was working with, we were working with transferring consciousness from in these containers and transferring them to robotic AI. And the technology was brilliant, but it ended up, ultimately, we handed it over and gave it to some groups that basically couldn't handle the technology. There were people that had nefarious agendas, and it ended up turning into this whole thing. And then the thing with Atlantis happened after that. So just to touch on that as well. The other point I want to bring up is the withdrawing of consent as well. So when I'm interacting with this stuff, sometimes even on the social media platforms and stuff, I'm seeing AI art, I'm seeing all this stuff. Like, we do have the right to withdraw consent from anything that we're interacting with as well. So it's just to really like give people that option. You do have that option, even though that's why I'm saying the whole quantum entanglement thing, like, can we untangle ourselves? So those are just like kind of my final points and my final thoughts is, it's like, you can withdraw consent, definitely step away every now and then, step into the silence until you've experienced that real silence. Like, you need that compare and contrast, like, see how that feels for you, put yourself in that space, because there is something that you will experience there that you cannot experience, because we are constantly getting messages from everything around us, so I highly encourage people to connect with the earth, like legit, like just connect, and so I want to empower people. I want people to feel like they have a choice in this, and that, going into it, that, just really educate yourself, and just really, I don't know, just come to some sort of peace on the inside as well, connect with nature, do all those things. So that's all my, oh, and I will say, I myself have had two NDEs, and that piece is that going there is, it is so different than here, so yeah. So anyways, I will leave the floor.
Thank you, sister. So, closing from whoever hasn't shared, who hasn't closed it alive, please, Maria, jump in.
I don't know why I'm hearing words again, but we keep saying artificial intelligence, and I keep hearing art officially, like officially us, intelligent us, like, like intel us, art, official. Oh no, I'm hearing Hall's quoting. It's like, whoo, download. So I'm so excited about all these words. Anyway, so exciting because I want to come back to that, because it's like an evolution of art as a creator. Like, and I don't know if we have discussed about the evolution of all of this, but we're evolving through our art canvas that we've been creating. So I just want to like leave in that expansion. I'm so resonating with everyone of the balance of both, of like, here we are, let's connect with our part of our technology that we created, and let's also get into the technology of nature, which we created, which are equally valid designs of ours, right? And part of like when I'm hearing all this, I have these patents that me and my business partner are putting on the market right now to sell, to purchase land of like 60 acres and have community and be able to be off grid at times and on grid at times. So it's like taking both concepts of like the AI world and also the nature world and having balance of it. Also, it represents us as being balanced. Are we balancing our realms or our designs or our creations as a family of consciousness that we are? We are the family of consciousness. We are the designers. We are the creators of this space. So I find it like harmonious in a design space. Big art, officially, us canvassing us
Big art.
um, in this community land and nature. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like marriage, like a conscious union marriage of creation going on. I'm just getting so many downloads from you guys. Like, fantastic hearing all your voices. I'm exploding. Um, so I just want to say thank you all for the various conversations we had, because I do believe it will come forward with all of us. It's been a fascinating call to action, literally a call to us being in this now, hearing all those timelines. And I just want to go one thing before I finish. You mentioned the moon crashing into the earth, or we tilting, or and then flooding. Remember that word demon again, the moon? um Demon, which means the moon in my understanding. There's one perspective here, but say the moon, the demon part of us, the emotional part of us that creates stories, right, crashes into its merged self, like a marriage. Say it happens. I'm not in our one of our timelines. I mean, say it's happening right now because it's quantum. Yay, it's happening right now. um Whoa. And then the water is flowing and all our emotions are flowing and we're just like flowing everywhere. It just sounds like woo, splashy time. I don't know. It sounded exciting. I was like, I'm gonna get my swimsuit on, go swimming with all of you in the pool of consciousness with the moon and the emotions. I don't know. It sounded fun. I'm ready to go. Let's go play, whatever that is. But that was such a fun story. I'm like playing in that, and there's so many stories. Like I hear all of them at once sometimes, and I just like that one too. I love playing with our story time. So thank you
Head your
all.
head for
I love
that
you
and
all.
go.
Oh, wow, 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 wow. I have missed you so much. That is epic, 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 epic. Ah, beautiful. Alicia, we haven't heard from you. I think we've heard from everyone else. Alicia, please, if you would like to finish this out, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I would love, as we're talking about the moon, I'm thinking of Revelations and the woman of the apocalypse. And so I was visiting, I love to visit old churches everywhere I go because I know they're on the original dragon ley lines and they were actually used for something much more holy than they're pretending to be used for now. Just my personal opinion, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I saw this image of the Mother Mary and she's holding the child and she has the crown of the 12 stars. And below her feet is the moon. She's riding on the crescent, like the light ship of Isis. And there's a red dragon under her feet as well. And we could all determine what we want to call that or reference, belongs to that red dragon. And I know that as we move into this new time, that we've made a mistake in the past where we slayed dragons versus rode them. And I know that that is one of the adventures that we're being called on in this time. But I think about that image that I saw of Mother Mary with the moon under her feet, crowned with the stars, and I really do see that as the emotional plane. And I do as a guide for ascension and planetary shifting, and what I would call the biological apocalypse and the rapture of humanity, which has to do with our purification of the lower astral body. So it has to do with a pulling out of the lower astral plane. The rapture is about that. It's like pulling out of the underworld and of course, moving into a frequency where there's no such thing as demonic entities that could possess our consciousness or influence us to do things that aren't for the divine plan. Right? So we're moving into that right now. That is the rapture, that is the purification. And so the moon under the feet in human design and gene keys, which I believe is a part of this galactic mission that we're all a part of, as we build this synarchy out and we rewrite the way money is used for humanity through philanthropy and open pure hearts and walk-ins, near-death experiences are a big part of this initiation as well. But there's this idea that there's a mutation of the emotional center that's taking place in humanity and has been for some time. And so there's this prediction by the year 2027 that process is complete. And so I see that as, in that lower astral body, we're controlled by what I like to say the lower astral plane, which is money, power, sex, time, food, our ego, our recognition, right? We're moving into divine mother father consciousness, where we care about all of humanity and we care about all of the earth and we care about all of the living creatures. And so there's something that happens in the shift of the consciousness where we're no longer indifferent to the suffering of humanity, and we want to utilize our intelligence, our influence, our gifts, and the resources that we have access to shift the planet in key important ways that will eventually create systems beyond monetary systems. So we're just like vision planters. Before a bomb comes in 2029, I'm going to say that we proactively shift our consciousness. That's what we're being called to do. We're rewriting the fall of Atlantis. We know in one time it already happened. So we're all surrendering to the highest possible timeline that we could all agree to in order to serve humanity as a fractal, as a collective. And so I invite you all, we can't force, right? We have free will here, but the invitation is that we surrender to the highest will of God, that we surrender to the highest timeline that is in service to all of humanity, and that we may be of the greatest service to humanity, and may we be a vessel of the purity of heart, of consciousness in service to the planet and the whole, and thy will be done. And I notice that when I get out of the particulars, AI, not AI, money, not AI, not money, that when I stay there in the prayer of the mother for the unity of all beings and for the service for humanity, when I stay there, I just trust so deep and invite us all to play in that game. Surrender to the high. Who doesn't win in that I surrender to the highest timeline for all of humanity? That is the quantum entanglement, quantum leap that we get to make as a collective consciousness together using our divine intelligence and service. And so that's my prayer, that we all meet each other, that we are in it, in fact, that we are in the highest timeline to serve all of humanity, and that we are the shift that's taking place to navigate this thing to the highest good for all beings, for the planet, for planetary consciousness, for the future of humanity. And thank you so much. It's 10:44 my time, which is my favorite, 144 crew coming together in divine love for all of humanity and peace and service. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Oh my God, this has been absolutely epic. We've had just 2 days of incredible, incredible dialogue. I want to thank each and every one of you here, and those who have fallen off the call. Where are we at? We're near 2 hours. Yeah, we're over 2 hours. Wow. So yeah, I just want to say I talk a lot, and I just want to echo something that Kevin said earlier. Just sitting in silence, listening to each of you has been just so incredibly powerfully enlightening and opening, and it just really I'm going to repeat what I said yesterday in Ireland. They say you have two ears and one mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you talk. So I'm going to really take that one in again, because how much is received when we're just in this place of listening is so powerful. And yesterday and today it feels like it's just opened a even greater field. So I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. And I would say to you who are watching, please take something that you've heard in yesterday's call, something you've heard in today's call, and go apply it, go share it, reach out to some of our panel if something that they've shared has touched you, something has inspired you, something has triggered you, whatever it is. Reach out to one of our panel if you feel that. We're going to have them all on Facebook. I'll put the links on the YouTube as well. And I just wanted to say thank you to the team behind all of this and the unseen that really were poking me, and eventually I said yes, because it's just been a real true blessing, and I just thank you all. And yes, I feel like this is just a beginning. And I would just like to open this space to see what is birthing, and look forward to collaborating and co-creating and becoming and remembering with you all together. So I just leave it with until next time. From my heart to yours, the divine in me sees, loves, and honors the divine in you. Namaste. We are. Bye. Love yous. See you soon.
Thank you, my